Today is going to be Jack's 1 month update and my, I guess, 1 month postpartum update. A little bit of both. I am here with Jack. He's sleeping, usually on my lap. A little while after he was born, we noticed, well, we saw a red mark on his head, but we thought it was just from birth, but it is actually a birthmark, and it's just like a red patch on the back of his head. He got baby acne when he was about 2 to 3 weeks old. It started on his forehead and then kind of moved down around his cheeks and his chin, and he still has it now. And I don't put anything on it. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of breast milk. He is a very sweaty baby, especially sleeping. So we are still co-sleeping. I just sleep a lot better with him in bed with me, and he sleeps a lot better in bed with me. He only wakes a couple times a night, and I did try him in his bassinet again, but I don't know, I'm more comfortable with him in bed with me, because when he's in his bassinet I can't see him. There's risks for everything. There's risk for co-sleeping, there's risks with him sleeping in his bassinet and in his crib. So no matter what, there's always risks. You just have to find what works best for you and works best for the baby, as long as it's safe. He does have a nice bit of gas. I don't really know if he's a gassy baby or not. I know all babies are kind of gassy, but I don't have anything to compare it with to know if he's like extra gassy, if that makes sense. But and I don't know if it's something I'm eating, or that is the one thing that I struggle with, is trying to figure out if something I'm eating is causing him gassy, or if he's extra gassy or not, or it's just normal. Some nights he does have his days where he's extra gassy, and then other days he's good. So I'm still trying to figure that out. He grunts a lot when he is trying to poop. You can usually easily tell. And he poops a lot when he's on the boob. I don't know if that makes him poop, but it just seems to work out that way. So I switched him to size 1 diapers or Pampers at 3.5 weeks. They were starting to get a little bit too small around his legs, and I just felt like that was a huge step, and he's growing so fast. He's also wearing a little bit of 0 to 3 month clothing, but he is still in newborn. It's kind of give or take. Some newborns is too small. Mostly in the length, he's kind of like a longer baby, and some of the 0 to 3 is a bit too big, and some of it fits perfect. Each brand is kind of different, but mostly it fits him in the length, but it's way too big around for him, the 0 to 3. But so we're kind of like in between sizes. His hair has lightened a little bit, I think, and I don't think he lost any. It's just gotten lighter. He still has the hiccups a lot, and I don't know what causes hiccups, or if that's normal or not, but he had the hiccups a lot too when he was in my belly. His first doctor's appointment was March 27th when he was 9 days old, and he weighs 7 pounds 10 ounces. So he was 7'1" when he was born. I also had him weighed at 4 weeks old, and he was 9 pounds and 11 ounces. So that's almost like 2.5 pounds since birth, which is crazy. So he's not starving by any means. I feel like he is going to be a big boy. Around 4 weeks, I noticed that he started grabbing things with his hands. Like if I took him up, he would grab my hair and my shirt sometimes. And when he's feeding, he's also always going with his hands and grabbing my shirt, which is so cute. He did have a little bit of jaundice when he was born, or when the nurse came to see him a couple days after he was born. His eyes were a little bit yellow, and it was kind of more so from his waist up. It was nothing serious, nothing that we had to be monitored for or anything like that. And his eyes are still a little bit yellow right now. But I read that it takes longer for the yellowness to go out of breastfed babies than formula fed babies, and also that the eyes are the last to return to normal color. Everything else he's back to normal, it's just his eyes. Some things that I noticed that he really likes is to be rocked. He loves to be rocked. And he loves sounds and singing, and I usually sing, my favorite song to sing to him is You Are My Sunshine. He loves lights, and he sometimes likes his swing, which I usually turn on the sound and it has lights on it and like sheep that go around in a circle, and he really likes that. But he won't stay in there very long, but it does keep him occupied for about 10 minutes maybe. And he loves his baths. Whenever he's having like a meltdown, I can put him in the bath or in the shower and he loves it and he'll stop crying. And of course, he loves to be cuddled. I try to think of some things that he doesn't like, and the only thing that I could really think of was he doesn't really like his feet touched. He's pretty ticklish. He gets that from his mama. So that's about it for him. Moving on to me and postpartum. First, let's talk about the UTI. I ended up having a UTI and they gave me a week of antibiotics. I can't remember the name of it right now. Maybe I'll look that up. But it was a very weak antibiotic, and by the end of that week, I didn't even finish. I think it was the day before. I think I was supposed to finish on Sunday, and I went back on Saturday to the hospital to have my urine checked because I didn't think that the antibiotics cleared it up. And the only symptoms that I had of the UTI was, and honestly, I don't even know if this is a symptom of it, but when I sat on the toilet, I was having a lot of pressure. And I didn't know if that was the infection or if that was just from birth, which I think it was just from birth. But what would happen was when I sat on the toilet, because you're not supported like you are when you're sat like on a couch, I would just feel like there was a lot of pressure, and it didn't burn, but it was uncomfortable, and I was just paranoid that the infection wasn't gone. So I went back and I had my urine sampled again, and there was still a little bit of infection there, so they gave me another week of antibiotics, of a stronger one, still safe for breastfeeding, but it was he told me that it should be cleared up in like 2 days, and if it wasn't, go back. I was still having that feeling of a lot of pressure, so I was really confused. However, I finished that week of antibiotics and I kind of just left it because I wasn't having any other symptoms, and I don't know, it was really hard for me to tell if the infection was gone or not. That pressure when I sit on the toilet is only just starting to go away at 4 weeks postpartum. I still find my back, if I'm holding him for a long period of time standing up, or when I go for walks as well, I find my back. My posture is so bad and my muscles are just so weak that I just feel so out of whack. My boobs are like melons and I hate how big they are. I seriously hate boobs. I'm just not a boob person, okay? If I could get a boob reduction, I probably would. I still get itchy after I poop, and now I'm using the Tux pads, which I really like. I'm still breastfeeding and it's going really well. I mean, he's not starving by any means. He's gained like 2.5 pounds in a month. And I usually pump when I get up first thing in the morning, because usually that's when I feel the fullest, and I usually get about just over 4 ounces. My stretch marks on my thighs are still red and very angry. They don't look like they're going away or fading anytime soon. My weight stalled at around 142 pounds, but I've been eating really crappy and not working out at all. Only went for like a couple walks, which I can't wait to start working out. I'm just, because I still have stitches in, oh yeah, so I don't think I mentioned that. Yeah, so I still have a bunch of stitches in there and they don't look like they're coming out anytime soon, which I feel like I'm taking a lot longer to heal than I thought I would. They told me that my stitches would be out in 2 to 3 weeks, and at 4 weeks there's still a ton in there, so it's kind of frustrating. But I don't want to start working out and risk like irritating my stitches or anything like that, so I'm just waiting. I mean, there's no rush, right? My tailbone kind of felt bruised, but I didn't find it until after over a week postpartum. And it honestly feels bruised. I don't know if that's just because I had a lot of back labor and the way that he came out face up, or OP, but it just feels bruised. I totally had the mom sweats. Mom sweats are a real thing. I do love Babywearing. I have a wrap, and then I have the Argo baby carrier. I actually ordered a couple more so that I can try a couple and see which ones I like, because the one I have now, it's kind of hard to get on by myself, but he loves to be in the baby carrier. And if I find that he's really fussy, I or if he won't go to sleep, I'll put him in the baby carrier and he usually calms right down. Or if I need to get anything done, the baby carrier is the way to go. One thing I forgot to mention in my 1 week update was that when I was pushing, I guess I was pushing so hard that I popped a blood vessel in my eye, and even up above my eyebrow I had like this weird kind of like rash that looked like a bunch of like burst blood vessels. It was pretty intense, and that lasted for probably about a week. When my mom and family left on, when was that, April the 11th, that was my first, they left in the night and Byron went to the airport to bring them, and I was alone with him for the first time for only about an hour. But as soon as they left, he was in his bassinet and in his playpen, and I went to go, actually no, I was about to go upstairs, and I just put my foot on the step and I heard him kind of like, I can't remember if he coughed or like he sounded like he was kind of choking. And I ran over, and when I went to pick him up, there was, I think he spit up a little bit because it was a little bit wet. But when I pulled him up, like face to face with me, he puked all over me. Like projectile vomited all over me. And it just shot right out. It was crazy. I was drenched, he was drenched. Our first day together was the day after that. Byron went back to work and my whole family was gone. So it was a big adjustment because I was so used to having everyone here, and then all of a sudden no one was here. It was very quiet that day. But it was our first rough day. Jack usually sleeps all day, and he's usually up a couple times for a couple hours, but he's usually really quiet and he just likes to look around. But this one day was the complete opposite. I couldn't put him down all day. He was crying, he wouldn't nap, he would only sleep in my arms, and as soon as I put him down, he would only be there for like 5 minutes and he would start crying. And then I'd pick him up and then he'd be fine. So that was a little bit of a rough day because I couldn't just give him to my mom for her to take him for a little bit. It was just me, and I had to hold him all the time, which it was a little hard, but looking back now it's like kind of silly. But anywho, he is good most of the time. He has had a couple bad days, but if he is really cranky, usually I'll put him in the baby carrier. That really calms him, or I'll put him in the bath, and that also calms him a lot and he'll stop crying. Night times, we don't have a routine yet at all. We kind of just go with the flow. He usually wakes only 2 to 3 times, and then daytimes it's kind of all over the place. As for feedings, I probably feed him most times every 2 to 3 hours, but give or take. I think that's all I have to share. Usually when I'm editing these videos, I realize that I've forgotten a few things, but that's all I have written down. I hope you guys enjoyed this little update, and we will see you in our next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Here's my little sleepy handsome man.